Hi guys, welcome back to Compound. And today we're going to talk about the Qatar Grand Prix. And we're here with Jack.
As always, it's me. I'm back.
Um, what are your thoughts on the race then, Jack?
I liked it and didn't like it. So I'll go explain what I mean. So I enjoyed that the track was new. I was excited to see how the cars tackled it. Um, I thought it was quite a fun race to watch in elements, but the funness didn't necessarily come from the race itself, more through Pirelli's failings, which I'll get onto a bit further on. But I think fair play to Lewis, got it right, kind of went for it. Good drive from Max coming back from the P7 grid start in the first couple of laps, already making it back and getting up to P2 and just challenging again. Bottas, unfortunate for him, but a strong race for Alonso as well. And it just shows that
Yeah.
while that Renault or Alpine is shit, it's good at one thing, which is tyre maintenance. Like, it's not hard on the tyres, whereas the Red Bull fucking screams the car into the floor, so it's going to like really push the tyres. Whereas the Renault is actually quite nice on tyres. You've got an experienced driver like Alonso who can manage tyres well in a car that doesn't hurt the tyres. So you just that one stop worked well. I think the two stop, one stop kind of got forced on people.
Because of the other tyres, yeah.
And if you like it or not, you kind of got forced into a two stop or one stop because everyone saw, oh shit, what's happened to Williams? What's happened to Bottas? Pierre on quali. Like the Pirelli tyres just kind of had a fucking mare out there as usual. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that if it was a race that was like at the beginning or nearer to the beginning of the season, everyone will be like, oh, it's such a boring race. Lewis dominating the whole weekend and then running away with it. And, he did. Okay, Max was still a decent chunk ahead of Alonso, but Lewis was plenty far ahead of Max. I think because of the situation that we're in with it being the end of the season, it's like a good result for F1 because it keeps it going another week.
Well, like we said last
It
week, it's
gets
what you want. We want
Yeah,
as
it gets
fans, you
us
want to go to the
going
very end.
towards that like final showdown race, which genuinely could really happen now. I mean, the only thing is if Lewis DNFs in the next race, then it's over
If
basically.
Max wins and gets fastest next race, it puts Lewis at a really sticky position going into Abu Dhabi for the last
We need
Grand Prix.
Yeah, you need torpedo Bottas at that point, really.
Or you need, if you're Max, you need Mick to go for my father and just stop his record kind of appearing. But
Yeah.
I've got a stat on my phone. It's so Max Verstappen, if he gets fastest lap in for Saudi Arabia even, if Max gets fastest lap and Hamilton finishes sixth or lower, Max wins with first and fastest. If Max gets first and Hamilton goes seven or lower, Max wins. Max
Hmm.
gets second in fastest lap and Lewis goes 10th or lower, Max wins. And if Max gets second and Lewis doesn't score, Max wins. They're the four win conditions for Max.
For the next race, yeah.
Yeah, for Saudi Arabia. Jeddah,
Yeah.
the new
I don't
circuit.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, I think it's going to go down to the wire. I think even from Red Bull and Mercedes being catty on and off the track on social media, they get catty again. Christian Horner being like those little graves in the back of your spoiler causing more drag, less drag even. And Mercedes gone, we've had a look, there's nothing there. It's kind of like they're pointing at any little thing they can to try and get the one up because they're desperate because it's going down to the wire. And ultimately for fans,
Yeah,
that's what we want.
I do wonder whether Mercedes are looking at it going, oh, we've got Red Bull rattled now because
Yeah.
they are looking for every single little bit rather than focusing on their own task at hand and dealing with that. They are, as you say, like, scrutinizing every single little bit, and everything's past the scrutineering
Yeah.
anyway, allegedly.
Bringing it on to, you were
So,
saying Red Bull focus not probably being where it should be, and looking at
mhm.
Mercedes going, how do we stop them rather than how do we improve? Perez, he kind of, his whole strategy kind of all came down, like obviously qualifying, didn't get where he should do, and we got to see a very
Yep.
different race, I think, if Perez had managed to put it back where the car should be, where Pierre Gasly was fucking sat P2 going into the grid. If Checo got P4, he would have gone to P2 instead of Gasly, and it would have made a completely different race, I reckon.
See, I don't even think that is necessarily the only thing. I think he still had a chance to get that podium. To get the podium on Sunday. I think the call to bring him in for the second set of tyres, he was thinking he could manage the tyres and go all the way with a one stop. Um, and he did say at the time that might, that's going to throw him off and he's not going to get third anymore. He's not going to get the podium. They tried to G him up over the radio and tell him that, go hunt him down. You can still get this podium. And then he's like, well, okay.
That's not
He
happening.
didn't in the end. He was only he was only 3 seconds behind. So whether he could have held on to those tyres, he'd have been well clear of Alonso if he could have got ahead of him and held on to the tyres. But obviously, that's a big if. Not worth risking it as well for the constructors' championship. Like it's especially with Bottas being out of the race, it's better to hold on to those points.
Definitely.
Fourth is better than a DNF or 10th or whatever. Because in the constructors now as well, the Red Bull are 5 points behind. So if they hadn't got those points haul from finishing fourth, then they'd be even further back. So
And it helped Bottas also having to retire. They put him onto the tyres. I think they're going to try and steal the fastest off Max or something. And it's like, sorry, Bottas, come back in. The car's fucked, mate. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't. It just didn't work out. If you're number 2 driver that weekend, it didn't seem to be your day. I think all the focus has gone to Lewis and Max. Everything for those two kind of. You are there. If we're giving you strategy and we're giving you stuff, it's not to help you. It's to help you get to position to help Max. It's never to help you win the race. And I think that's where it's kind of awkwardly sat for them.
I think Bottas is fully accepting of that and has been for a while. Beginning of every season, obviously,
Lewis
he wants
always
to be
says
that
thank you, Bottas, and like cheers Valtteri over the radio because he knows Valtteri's like, yeah, crack on, mate. Like I'm not going for it.
He got the DNF through no fault of his own because he got the puncture. Yeah. I mean, and that was
it brings on the Pirelli.
Mercedes' call was to keep them out. Pirelli said 30 laps, and I think
Mercedes said there was no issue on the car. Mercedes said there's no vibration, there was no indication. Yeah. Again, this is maybe as Lance Stroll goes back to Max at the beginning of the year, where there are no indication of any vibration. There was no alert. There was nothing happening with the car that made you think this tire's going to pop. Valtteri couldn't feel anything in the car until obviously it went, and then he lost all control. Same with George. They were saying like they're not feeling anything with these tires. They're just disappearing. Yeah. And it's like, okay, Pirelli's told you this is the operating window. However, there should be some degradation to go, actually, my tyres are getting worse. I'm losing this. Or it's feeling, the drivers know what the tyres feel like, if that makes sense. They know what's wrong. Like even when George Russell last year, when they brought him in because he had a puncture, he's like, no, I feel completely fine. And then Mercedes brought him in when he was racing for Mercedes last year. He said he felt completely fine. So the driver can feel what's going on. They're so in tune with these cars. And I think the fact that Valtteri didn't feel it, Stroll didn't feel it, Max didn't feel it, that's going back at Valtteri. George and Latifi both got it. Both Williams got it, which kind of messed them up. I think they're still above Haas and maybe Alfa Romeo in the chart, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But they're still not going to help them if they're fighting at the bottom. Like that point, 1-2 points, you can chuck you up and down that thing very quickly. And just having both your cars' tyres blow, it's like, fuck, that's not the fireworks they wanted, I think George Russell said. And it just down to Pirelli. Should the contract be binned off earlier if their tyres are coming up and doing this dumb shit?
I mean, the thing that always gets me is that you hear them say about it on commentary is that they're always saying about how there's a wall and the tyres fall off a cliff. They don't seem to be doing that at the moment. They just seem to be, as you say, they just explode.
Like there's a cliff, but there's having a cliff to fall off, but there's fall off of performance, not fall off of failure. It's okay, shit.
But that's the thing. It's
not like I'm on ice and I'm oil. And then it goes.
Yeah, nobody's complaining about that.
Bang, like
yeah,
and it's always the same tires and the same tracks.
Yeah, nobody's having that moment of okay, I've lost all grip. I can't possibly carry on. I need to come into the pits. They're just going okay, lower the speed a little bit that we're doing on the lap, and we can keep going. And then it's just okay, the tire's gone.
Go back to when they used to have like ridges on the tires and stuff. I think they used to call them like there's these inters they had back in the day that some people call them interslicks because they would literally melt through they'd use the inters.
The current ones are like that
and
now.
Turn it to slicks, and they would just use it. And those tires took such abuse back then, and now these tires are like completely fine. Bang, and it's the bit to me would be like okay, our team's doing the pressure thing they got told off for all this stuff. And I think if it was different tires and different circumstances every race, so say Lewis got one his front left, Valtteri back right, George front right, Latifi back left. Like if there were different wheels, it's the same. It's the front left when the whole weekend was always the front left, and it means that's the tire get put under the pressure. Obviously, because the way the circuit runs out. However, if 4 cars have the same fucking tire that goes at the same position, you gotta think right. These 4 teams will have got similar strategies. The tire should be able to fucking handle it. If qualifying, especially if you're pushing quality tires around there. Like
yeah, but you're only doing like 2 laps max.
But I'm saying you're going hard, but it shouldn't that shouldn't pop in quality.
Well, they're not.
Pierre Gasly's went.
Oh, what in qualifying?
Yeah, Pierre Gasly was a qualifying pop. So these, I get in the race, 30 laps on you're pushing it, but in qualifying,
they were riding the curbs a lot though, like all weekend.
Pirelli, you kind of
because they were like they were like, Pirelli told them to keep off the curbs, and then everyone was like, well, there's no massive bumps on the curbs, so we're going to ride on the curbs. And Pirelli have already said that it looks like there might have been a cut on one of the tires,
But
and they
that's
need to
down to
work
the
out
race
whether it was
director
before
saying
there or not.
where the lines are. So I know they changed at the weekend as well, where the
Mhm.
out of bounds lines were. So if your supplier for tyres has said you can't drive here on this tyre, we're providing you with a product. We've given you the hardest tyre. Don't drive here. The only way to stop drivers from doing that and endangering their lives, it ultimately comes down to safety, because a tyre failure is safety issues. Because if it goes the wrong way, you're in the barrier, you could die. It goes down to the race directors, the FIA, for safety reasons, to say, okay, you cannot drive past this line because our tyre manufacturer said the tyre can't go there. Because
Go on.
I'll say, because like when the shrapnel on the track, Pirelli have gone, this tyre won't drive over shrapnel, so they slow the race down to get rid of the shrapnel, so the tyres are fine. The same respect that it shouldn't go on the dodgy curbs, you say that's the hard line, you can't drive on that.
Yeah, if there was a bit more cohesion between the FIA and Pirelli in terms of where the track limits were, I think it's crazy that we can go into a weekend and the
They
track
change
limits
every fucking like
F,
session.
FP1, the track limits are like, we'll see where people are getting away with it and where the added time is, and then we'll bring it in and decide whether it's the white line or the black and white curb and that sort of thing. Yeah,
We'll keep
that's
it
a
two on
bit
the
silly.
grass. Some places, like, it just
Yeah.
seems how FIA seem to be looking at it from a race and entertainment standpoint rather than a safety and what the manufacturer of the tyres are saying. This is where the tyre shouldn't go. And I think we need to think about that more in future, because obviously we've got very lucky in the past. Max's crash, if that had gone the other way, it could have been horrific.
Mm-hmm.
And it's situations like this where ultimately the tyre manufacturer isn't 100% to blame, but if they're saying one thing, the teams are doing another, it's down to the FIA to stop the teams doing the things that the FIA say don't do on our tyres for safety reasons.
Yeah.